They jingling, baby, like keys in my pocket with my hands in my pocket, looking for my wallet. Motor City, technically Rasheed Wallace, then moved to Chicago for dollars like Ben Wallace. I was trying to be modest, but I done brushed my shoulders off so much in the past months they look polished. I'm just being honest, I'm putting on a clinic. Niggas dropping out of college to do it like we did it, and pigeons is always flocking if you tossing out birdseeds. I'm in a lion's den with a stake, they can't touch me. Plus me and Mikey do the right thing in these Spike Lee Nike. Suckers, they wanna fight me, cause they girlfriends want a guy just like me. You know what bite me? Hey, they all like me. No sense of throwing punches. Let's do lunch, man. You like me too. Ain't no future in your front end.
Baby, you're tickling. Baby,
Right.
baby, you're tickling. Baby,
Jingling cassette, jingling cassette, jingling cassette, jingling cassette.
baby,
Signed, sealed, delivered. Lick the envelope and then send it to my niggas. Inside was a note saying that we gotta pick up the pace, cause there's too many rabbits trying to get in the race. Makes me sick in the face and stomach. Shoes ain't laced, but they all try to run it. Get it, done it, kick it and punt it. Whatever, it's good, however you put it. I'm $100 bill in a haystack, cousin. Want it? You can have it long as you stop the frontin'. See, I be trying to pay MCs to behave, but they don't cooperate with me. And lately, they been impatient. They don't like waiting, and that's why they hate on me so dang. But they parties always lame. They never had a hand like Canes of old games, so bang.
baby, you're tickling. Baby,
Right.
baby, you're tickling. Baby,
Jingling cassette, jingling cassette,
tickling.
jingling cassette, jingling cassette.
Baby,
Right. 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 Right.
Jingling cassette, jingling cassette, jingling cassette.
Moors, Solon, Freeman, Indigenous, FBA. It is a bloodline. Tariq Nasheed and nobody else is over us. We govern ourselves. That's something that other people cannot do. We are the gods and goddess. Our bloodline is older than any other bloodline on the planet. Facts, not opinion. And that is the Black American. Okay? Now, why is it a problem? Did y'all hear about the Asian comedian? Why is it a problem that ICE isn't coming after Indigenous Black American people? They are more upset that ICE is not coming after us than the fact that ICE is here. Do you hear them asking why ICE is not attacking white people? They're not mad about that.
Shalom to the Shabbatah, Matawa Shabbatah, that is my good try. You know, we had to get back at you with another one. We just surfing the wave. And you know, we don't like to use these color terms, but for the sake of conversation, we're going to tap into what she's talking about because we basically get the gist. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and get that bag. I hope everyone's feeling well and ready to charge up. This is specifically just for you. Just for you. Max Tawada, for tapping in on another magic wave on the ether bus. Big Tabada, Max Aha to our Ama Araba, Halawa. Let go.
They're just mad that the people who have been attacked, who have been mistreated, who have been Moors, Solon, Freeman, Indigenous, FBA. It is a bloodline. Tariq Nasheed and nobody else is over us. We govern ourselves. That's something that other people cannot do. We are the gods and goddess. Our bloodline is older than any other bloodline on the planet. Facts, not opinion. And that is the Black American. Okay? Now, why is it a problem? Did y'all hear about the Asian comedian? Why is it a problem that ICE isn't coming after Indigenous Black American people? They are more upset that ICE is not coming after us than the fact that ICE is here. Do you hear them asking why ICE is not attacking white people? They're not mad about that. They're just mad that the people who have been attacked, who have been mistreated, who have been outcast, who has the most suffering than anybody else. We can't even get a good credit line in our own country unless we know work for it 20 times fold or more. As you niggas come over here and get that and loans right out the back. Nobody was concerned that we wasn't getting that. But now it's an uproar because ICE has no authority to check the Black American. Just imagine the one time we get a small break, because we're still fighting, you know, for just basic things that belong to us. Meanwhile, the immigrants are trying to undermine that, but yet still upset that we won't fight for them. That's the deep shit. Look at it, family. That goes to show you that if ICE boot was in our neck, them niggas won't say none.
Say you can't be playing with that paper.
You see what I mean? The aqua steady breathing that flame, that fire. You know what I'm saying? Everything she said was factual. We're going to continue to search the way. I hope you are charged up and ready to continue to be charged up. Big Shalom. Disconnect. Well, depending on how you see it, how it's being applied, disconnect sometimes can be a necessity. Sometimes disconnect needs to happen. I could see such a thing. I could relate. Because when it's about disconnecting, well, sometimes you just aren't in that charge anymore. Like for us, we have disconnected from the term black and all other crayon colors. And when we're talking about disconnect, well, when it comes to frequency, disconnect can mean everything. So when it comes to this disconnect, it's a matter of perception. It's a matter of seeing, of seeing a level of Dracon. I mean, sometimes you gotta disconnect, you gotta let go. One has to say bye at some time. I can understand that. Letting go and detaching from that which you could be addicted to. Maybe they've driven you to this addiction. But maybe, just maybe, good disconnect to reconnect might be what charges you up, might be the necessary action to help you recharge. I'm not one to argue with such things. Nah. But sometimes, in this flow that we're building in, a disconnect can put you in an offsetting, outside the line. Some might say out of bounds. Others might say a disconnect is missing the point. Like I said, it's all about perception. When we're talking on this, missing the point, sometimes in a disconnect, it can go over your head, or you can be so high in the sky, you don't see it entirely. In such a disconnect, well, when we're talking about frequency, when we're talking about the vibe that we have between each other, this vibe right here that we've had throughout the year, we've began to converse in our own vernacular. For it is our vernacular that brings us our connection through the waves, verbally and telepathically. For I've always told you, Con, I've been with you since the beginning. Because I've been with you since the beginning, well, I know this frequency, this language of all, this the bar, is from the source. And as it streams through you and I, well, I know we've come to form a language of our own. And within this language, well, a disconnect of this frequency can mean everything. So in certain terms and frequencies, others may find a disconnect. We will feel that disconnect right away, instantaneously. And we will know in that very moment, if you're not surfing the wave, well, you definitely have missed the moment. Because we know this ain't for everybody. So big shalom to you. We're going to continue. Max A. So surfing the wave, one might find a disconnection with being indigenous. Some have a disconnect with the term or the word Aboriginal. I've heard of such things. And so with that disconnect, well, I imagine and I see certain things, and I'm not sure if it's just a definition and if they don't know the etymology. But right here at the Naturalist, we love our words. And so I see indigenous as being born or originating in a particular place, in a country, a native, that which is sprung from the land. You can never forget that. Sprung from the land. As a native, someone that is born in a place, within, to beget, to produce, to give birth, to beget. Indigenous, that which is sprung from the land. When I think of these terms, I surf wave and I'm like, land. And when I'm seeing land, I'm thinking of the ground, the soil, for sure. But it also means home, region of a person or a people. Sometimes, in these days especially, territory marked by political boundaries. Land, open land. So when I'm thinking of the land, well, I'm surfing a good wave, and I'm not really caught in a disconnect with this indigenous term. It's more of a connection, but I get it, and it's not my wave to force the way that I feel or my opinion onto anyone else. But I know right here with us surfing the wave, we know what indigenous etymologically means. It's a part of our vernacular, surfing the wave. But nonetheless, I see it as the land, right? So I'm not even thinking necessarily of anything separate. Because I'm thinking that which is of nature. The land, to be connected to nature. The restorative powers of the body. The restorative powers of the body. Alright? Nature, that which is natural, the bodily process, the powwows of growth. From nature being the principle of life. Character, essence, the course of things, natural character. You see what's going on? A constitution, quality, the cosmos, literally birth, born, to be born, give birth, to beget. So we're within this flow of the land and to be indigenous. So my connection to this flow, to this indigenous, well, let's see. Shalom. To originate, to be of the land. This is what crosses my mind. This is what I see myself being indigenous to. And when I'm thinking of the land, when I'm thinking of nature, Well, I'm not necessarily thinking of anyone in particular, at least not straight away, right away. Nah, this is a connection to the land, to the earth, to Amma, as you see it, to the matter of things, the material. Using the senses to see clearly. This is therapy, a healing, a cleansing. Having this connection to the land, having this recognition of indigenous. So when I'm thinking of the land, I'm not thinking of any one thing or a people at all. And to originate from the land, the trees, well, what's more natural than that? And as we're surfing this wave, this is a natural setting. This is indigenous. To be of the elements, to be connected, to remember within the men. That is the flow. Halakha, this is the way. And as we embrace the way, well, to be indigenous to such a thing, to be disconnected from such a frequency, such a vibration, such creation, well, one can see how such a point can be missed. And within our flow, within our language, this is all we want to connect to. Shalom. So finding yourself synonymous with nature, with that which is natural, well, you see connections in many things. Many things, especially if you're similar or even just a little like me. You know, just like this blade of grass, so to speak. Calm, indigenous, sprung from the land itself. Which is why I don't have a problem with such frequency and such terms. And we'll see just right now. So when I'm thinking about a tree, I'm also thinking about that which is natural, I told you. In dealing with tree, you know, we get a stem or a trunk. Now keep this in mind, everything that we build and say is for a reason. So take a little side note with this trunk, from which branches grow. So we're still talking growth. We're still talking that which is from the land, like you. We also get timber, wood, beam, log, and stake. Also to be firm, solid, steadfast. Firm, solid, steadfast. We get wood, tree. Also like to bring your attention to how it says tree, see beam, and we got that up top. But if you know the way my Gemini mind works as a twin, You know what I'm saying? Well, this twin mind of mine, it works in a dualistic way, polarity, right? And when we get beam, of course, we get that which is a living tree. A living tree. We're still talking life, indigenous. We're still talking that which is of nature, the land. Originating, sprung from the land as a native, which is natural. So to be of the land, we're surfing the wave on being, which is a living tree. But aside from being a tree, it is also a ray of light. You see what's going on? A ray of light that also had biblical meaning and usage as a pillar of fire, a directed flow of radiation. And if you're continuing from our last drip, of course we are right on time. Even with this, to follow the course, the way indicated by a radio beam, to follow the course, a radio beam, a signal, a ray of light, a directed flow of radiation. We're talking about that which emits rays, a ray of light, shine radiantly, a shine. A smile that's so radiant, to direct radio transmissions, beam. We're still talking signals, rays of light. So this being, which is also a living tree, to be indigenous of this ray of light, to be of this radiant, to shine radiantly. You already know the wave we tapping into. But like I told you, to keep that mental side note, because we're talking about tree. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope your vibe is fantastic. We are just surfing the wave. Max Shalom to the Shabbat. So, if you remember, I wanted to keep your attention on this swan. I know from the last trip we were talking about this swan, because you can never forget the animals when we're talking about that which is produced within nature. And we were surfing the wave on this swan from my last presentation. So I thought it was only right that we break it down. And surfing the wave on this swan, aside from it being known for its long white neck, it is known to be a singer. A singer, swan, to be a singer, the singing bird, to make sound. It is related to the word gaswan, which is a melody, a song, to make melody. And this is just in frequency and in alignment with a Khan's name as we're surfing the wave. And we're breaking this swan down in its Wata flow, because we're just seeing how we were building on this the last time we were together. So to make sound, another mental note, to make sound. Come. And that's what we are here to do, to bring this melody to the Shamayim, to express the vibration and the praise for the creator, for the source. And this swan was connected to something else. And we'll get as we surf the wave. Right when we were digging in this stellar code, and we were talking about the story of Cygnus and how it said Cygnus represented Orpheus, who was changed into a swan at his death and placed beside his magic harp, the lyra in the sky. And I told you to pay attention to this tale, because we're right back to it. It said the tail of the swan is marked by the bright star Deneb for a tail. It is a 3 fainter star cross the line between Deneb and the head of the swan, Albiro. And we were talking about the nebulas and the nebulae, right, which is a variety of nebulas. So this head of the swan is where you see these stars cross. And again, we were talking about this swan. So this swan being that which is a singing bird to make sound, to make melody. We're still talking to Shamayim. We're still within this flow, this cosmic shit. And because we're within this cosmic shift, and because we're talking about being indigenous, being from the land, well, we know the Creator created the land and brought this land, that which is nature, into manifestation. We see how the heavens and the Shamayim above the firmament were separated. The waters were separated. These constellations being decorated, all for signs and seasons. So when we're talking about such things, well, it is always our highest honor to keep the code, to have the code, this natural installment, this natural function through nature, by law, systematic compilation of laws, as we see the code being a system of laws from law book, earlier being book, literally meaning tree trunk. See what's going on? Tree trunk. The code was this tree trunk. And we see also going forward that they were made up of wooden tablets, these books. But I also want to bring your attention to this cleaved, this separate, as it relates to this tail. And I told you to keep that mental note when we were talking about this tail. Alright, we are still talking a cipher, a system of signals, and the rules which govern their use. A system of expressing information and instructions in a form usable by computer. Code. So when we're keeping the code of Hawa, the creator, the source, recognizing this indigenous frequency to be connected to the land, the trees, this tree trunk. But keep in mind, we were talking about this swan and how the tail of the swan is marked. There's significance to tail. So as we're talking about code and keeping the code, well, we see this connection to tail. And when we're surfing the wave on this coda, well, we get it is a passage added to a musical composition for the purpose of bringing it to a conclusion. The tail of an animal. You see what's going on? That which is, again, cleaved, separate. For peace, part, often derived from to cut. Another side note. It's getting interesting surfing the wave. So this swan and its tail signifying the star constellation. Also, when we're keeping the code, we're talking about making melodies to make sound, to be of sound, this swan, to sing these praises, this tawada, to the Shamayim and beyond. Keeping the code, this passage added to musical composition for the purpose of bringing it to a close, the tail of an animal, the tail. So keeping the code is what brings this system of false laws, of unnatural laws to its close, literally by grounding yourself in the realization, the recognition, the reverence, the honor, the respect, the breath of being natural, of being connected, of being indigenous, just like the trees. And keeping this code, well, does separate you from everyone else, allowing you to cut off that which no longer serves you and your higher self in the purpose of Hawa. The system of signals, which are the rules which govern their use. Everything is all connected. When we're talking about trunk being the main part of something as distinguished from its appendages, as in a box, a case. Alright? Elm's box in a church. It also a stem of a tree. We see that? A stem of a tree. The stem, the root of a tree. When we're getting to the root, we're stemming from a tree. The trunk of the human body. You see how we just did that? The trunk of the human body. So when we're talking about being that which is of nature, to be born, the restorative powers of the body, the bodily processes, the powers of growth, that which is the course of things, the natural character, the constitution, the qualities of the cosmos. There is no separation with this code of Hawa. And your code, your keeping of this code, you surfing the wave, is what brings this to an end. For it is the trunk, the base, the root, just like that of the human body. Come. So when we're talking about this tree and how it relates to the body, we're starting to see the connection between being indigenous and that which is of nature, natural, the trees, it having no separation, it being a interconnectedness, no disconnection. And realizing these things, well, this frequency of ours begins to enrich. Our vernacular gets drippier. As body is the trunk of a man or beast, the whole physical structure of a human or animal, the material frame, material existence of a human, the main or principal part of anything. And this reminds me of something else. This reminds me of something else. Body, we're talking about life. The extension to a person, human being, the main part, the body, the trunk of a man, the tree of a man. We're still speaking indigenous. Life. To be of nature, the principle of life. When we're talking about the land, the ground, the soil, the open land, to be indigenous, sprung from the land, to be born, natural, to produce within the land. So as we see body being the life, the tree being the life, its continuous growth, well, this leads us directly to our Creator. The Creator, the Supreme Being, HWH, as the Creator of the cosmos. We're talking about Creator, the author, the founder, one who creates. So when we're talking about the founder, and when we're talking about originating, being sprung from the land, we're talking about procreation, familial groups, and tribal groups, life. This beam, this ray of light of the tree, a living tree. You see what's going on? A living tree, this ray of light, a beam to shine radiantly. For we know to be of the original is to come directly from the founder, from the author, from the one that creates. for the one that shapes. For we know in our indigenous tradition and our oral traditions, our shamer, our framer create fashions and forms to form, create, to make out of existing materials into existence, destined to create, to shape, create, produce. And you see right here, bringing back to that mental note, to cut, as in to cleave, to hack, to create. So you see what's going on. We're aligning ourselves with keeping the code, keeping the code as we create these melodies, these musical compositions, bringing the end to their false system as the tail, right? This code being the tail of this swan, this melody, this sound, this singing bird. See what's going on? To shape, to cut, to create, to produce, to grow, to form. All of this within the flow of that which is to be indigenous. We're just really surfing the wave, to form. So when we're talking about our creator, we know that our founder is our author. And you know, since we surfed the wave on that, let's get it. Author. That being of the Father, the created, one who brings about, one who makes or creates someone or something, the author, the originator. You see what's going on? The originator, the creator, the instigator, the promoter, the producer, the father, the progenitor, the builder, the founder, trustworthy writer, authority, the historian, the performer, the doer, responsible person, teacher. Etymologically, one who causes to grow, to increase, to inspire, author. We're talking about to grow. To grow. So when we're talking about nature, the restorative bodies, powers of the body. When we're talking about land, indigenous, to spring from the land, originating, to produce. So these are all vibration of being of the creator. When we're talking of this living being, this radiation, this flow of radiation directly from the creator, this living tree. Which is to grow. So we see this author, this shaper, HWH, the author and the shaper, HWH. You see it often used of HWH. So when we apply these things, well, we see our connection. And we know what it is to be indigenous. But one's disconnect can mean a completely different thing, which will cause them to miss the point entirely, altogether. We're gonna go ahead and tap into that and dive into this wave to get exactly what we mean. Hope everyone's doing well. I hope you are charging up. Max Shalom to the HWH. This is just another one, because we are back to it. Rare ones. AI. So us doing all this speaking on disconnect, we're gonna go ahead and get into this video real quick, and we're gonna surf the wave. Hopefully they allow us to surf the wave. You know how it always gets right here at the Naturalist, man. But nonetheless, we're gonna, get into what he has to say. And like I told you, everything that we do is for a reason. So as long as you're surfing the wave, everything is gonna, gel together. So let's hear what he got to say. And, yeah.
There are many people that don't understand that Native American tribes on this continent or here in the United States alone, every Native American tribe, they are not identical. They don't speak the same language. They have their own different cultural, traditional ways, but they try to, be recognized as a Native American person or American Indian. And the thing that happens is that because people don't recognize that there are some 600 or so different tribes here in the United States, perhaps Canada, and they have their own ways, their own language. We are not the same. And it is that they have their own ways of doing things and recognizing themselves, and they have their own identity.
I mean, I think everyone feels like that, kind of. I mean, that's the exact message behind not like us, right? They not like us. What you think the good folk out here doing? And, I get the flow that he building in, and we're going to continue to let him build. But it's just interesting to assume that everyone is all the same. Only a hijack would be in that frequency and want to project something like that. But we're going to continue to let him cook, or attempt to cook. Shalom.
And the one thing is, we don't all speak the same language, and we don't all eat the same types of food. Our ceremonies are different. Our stories are different. They are similar in some ways, in many ways. And it is that we are, as Dene, a different type of people in many ways. We have been given many different names by different people. The Anasaza gave us a name based on the ways that we instructed our children, and they called us field people. Field people is the word that they would call us or refer to us, and it actually meant, the way that they said it would be Anabeho. And then, of course, when the Spaniards heard that word, and they were asking who these people were, and they were told those are Navajo. And so they use it in their own way, which is to say Navajo. And so different names. And then some of our neighbor Native American referred to us as Yutai. And somehow they applied it to another tribe up north, and they became Ute. But then the name of the state of Utah became what it is, Utah, which is actually a name that was given to our Dene by other people, Utah. There are some other names in that, of course, in the modern times, and trying to sort out the race of people and to divide people, which is very dangerous. And one of those words is, of course, indigenous people. There are people all over the world. They have their own language, they have their own culture, they have their own ways. And many times they have maybe their own features in that are physical. And the people are separated in that way in these times. But there was a time when that was not a thing that would determine a person's.
You hear what he's saying? There was a time. We don't let him rock, but there was a time, right? People's going on.
That are physical. And the people are separated in that way in these times. But there was a time when that was not a thing that would determine a person's value or a person's intelligence or that of being. But it's in modern times where words are made and applied to people to divide them. So to me, as a Dene.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily see the division in a term like indigenous, because I don't see how you're lumping anything up by saying you're from the land. In fact, that is a type of perception, because if you look around, just because someone is of the blood or in the bloodline, or they're indigenous, or they're Navajo or Dene, or they're from, Tasaligi or any of these tribes, you know what I'm saying? Choctaw, Chickasaw, whatever we want to say, right? Whatever we want to say, whatever these names would be, just because one carries that flow through their veins doesn't mean that they're connected to it. Not all these people see themselves genetically as what they are, or physically as what they are, or whatever. So this is about a perception. This is a connection. And we surf the wave on our connection to this indigenous. So I wouldn't see how this is creating, a separation or whatever he's trying to say. Because in 1 minute he's saying it's separating, and then in the same he's saying it's not inclusive. Or it shouldn't be conclusive, right? Because they're all different. So because they're different, they shouldn't be lumped together as the same. But the term indigenous, I don't think does that for any one individual. In fact, when I think of being indigenous, like I told you, I don't even think of people.
Or a person's intelligence or that of being. But it's in modern times where words are made and applied to people to divide them. So to me, as a Dene, the word indigenous is not something that is good to apply to our Dene. And when you say indigenous, we live on a continent here. We have people to the north of us in Alaska. We have people to the north of us in Canada. We have people to the south of us in Mexico and out.
So to say one is not indigenous, are we saying, or is he saying, and are we hearing that one isn't sprung from the land itself? One doesn't originate from the land itself? The very land that one lives on? Is that what's being said? Is that what we're hearing? Again, we're talking about perception and how to perceive things. And we're talking about indigenous, right?
Culture. They have their own ways. And many times they have maybe their own features in that are physical. And the people are separated in that way in these times. But there was a time when that was not a thing that would determine a person's value or a person's intelligence or that of being. But it's in modern times where words are made and applied to people to divide them. So to me, as a Dene, the word indigenous is not something that is good to apply to our DNA. And when you say indigenous, we live on a continent here. We have people to the north of us in Alaska. We have people to the north of us in Canada. We have people to the south of us in Mexico and out into the Puerto Rican places and Peru and Honduras and Brazil and southern parts of this continent. They have their own cultural ways. They have their own language. And together, all of us is lumped into one great big group.
So in one instance, it's bringing separation because it's a word in terms of physical traits get attributed to such things. But in the next instance, it's lumping them all together. And I'm trying to make sense of things, right? Especially in the beginning, because he didn't have any problem with being referred to as a native, right? We got that in the beginning. Let's see.
It is that they have their own, is that because people don't recognize every Native American tribe, they are not identical. They don't speak the same language. They have their own different.
So he's okay with being referred to as a Native American, but not indigenous. You see what's going on? And, to cut bro some slack, we already know surfing the wave. To be native is to be natural, but you got to pay attention in the frequency that one speaks. Because he's saying not to be indigenous. It's not something to attach to the Dene people. Yet they're Native American. So to be indigenous is to be natural within the frequency of the land, to originate from the land. So is one saying they don't originate from the land? And, it's not my, I'm not one to force anyone's perception. I'm allowing him to cook and rock as he pleases. I'm just asking the question. I'm just surfing the wave. I'm just asking, what is it that we are hearing?
A thing that would determine a person's value or a person's intelligence or that of being. But it's in modern times where words are made and applied to people to divide them. So to me, as a Dene, the word indigenous is not something that is good to apply to our Dene. And when you say indigenous, we live on a continent here. We have people to the north of us in Alaska. We have people to the north of us in Canada. We have people to the south of us in Mexico and out into the Puerto Rican places and Peru and Honduras and Brazil and southern parts of this continent. They have their own cultural ways. They have their own language. And together, all of us is lumped into one great big group of people that they want us to refer to as indigenous. That would mean, in the ways of our understanding of the word indigenous, that we are just one people.
But that's not what it means at all. It's just about the land. So if you want to separate, as you claim you didn't, first you said you didn't want to divide, but now you're talking about you want to be seen as something individual, which, that's fine. I get recognition for what it is. Indigenous doesn't do that. It doesn't, quote unquote, unify anything at all. It just states that one originates and it's sprung from the land itself. But again, if we're talking about etymology, I don't know, and that's just to surf the wave on such things. But this kind of stuff right here, it makes me laugh because I hear something else and I'm asking, what are we hearing? Are we hearing that one is not indigenous, one is not sprung from the very land you are living on within this continent, these continents as a landmass? Shalom.
We are one people. And it is that we are not just one people. If you have the people of Europe or the Middle East.
We know they not like us. They not like us. We know this, man. And it's not even to keep that going, but it's funny. It really is funny because you got to understand, you got to understand. Nothing's being lumped together. And now we're talking about different continents. Not everyone's indigenous to the land. Especially if we're talking about at once upon a time, this is not the way things went. And we're going to get into that.
Or Asia. They all have their languages. They are all separate beings. They are all separate type of ways. And that makes them...
Also keep in mind how we started this, speaking in within frequency, talking about language, talking about this disconnect. Let's get it.
What they are individually, they have their cultural ways and their language and so on. And Dene, we who refer to ourselves as Dene, have our own language, we have our own cultural ways. And if you refer to me as an indigenous person, then you could, I could be an Alaskan, I could be a Peruvian, I could be a Brazilian, or I could be...
And it's very interesting, right? Because when we got indigenous for ourselves, when we were surfing the wave, everything about indigenous was natural. So I'm incorporating all of these things into indigenous as something natural. But I know I see myself within the land, and I don't have to consider myself another ethnicity or, tribal group, or identify with another ethnicity or tribal group to understand that I'm of my bloodline, my royal flow. Within that wata of Ama, I know what it is to be of Hawa's chosen. And hearing indigenous doesn't include me or confuse me, I would say, with any other group. I just know from one's reflection, one's true recognition, I sprang from this American land, this American soil. But we're going to continue to let them. Let's go.
A Puerto Rican or some other people. That would be wrong to Dene. We're not indigenous, even though that we live among all these people on this continent. We are Dene. Dene. We identify as a people that were placed here as a peaceful people.
Wait, what did he say? Hold on, get this back. What did he say? Did he say what I think he said? Let go. We are... You are surfing waves with the naturalists.
We're not indigenous, even though that we live among all these people on this continent. We are Dene. I could be a Peruvian, I could be a Brazilian, or I could be a Puerto Rican or some other people. That would be wrong to Dene. We're not indigenous, even though that we live among all these people on this continent. We are Dene. We identify as a people that were placed here as a peaceful people. We were given our special language. And these are things that came about through hard times, through struggles, and through encountering so many different things in that. And it was given to us by the old people, that they went before the holy people.
By the old people, and that they went in front of the holy people. We're going to get this back. They are not indigenous, but we're placed here. I can't make this up. I'm just surfing the wave. And I was asking, what were you hearing? And if you was hearing what we were hearing, and if we were hearing what we were hearing. Again, we were just speaking indigenous frequencies. Con.
As a peaceful people, we were given our special language. We're not indigenous, even though that we live among all these people on this continent. We are Dene. We identify as a people that were placed here as a peaceful people. We were given our special language. And these are things that came about through hard times, through struggles, and through encountering so many different things in that. And it was given to us by the old people, that they went before the holy people. They begged the holy
people. these ancient ones. So when you always hear them referred to as talking about these ancient ones, it's not just us. It's within the elder community as well. It's within the wisdom of oral tradition within itself. One just has to listen and surf the wave. You know what I mean? But I know that can be hard, especially when keeping it natural, because our natural ways are our oral traditions. And you have to have that discernment and know when to recognize a signal of sacrednicity, an alignment, a vibration. And then that's when things, begin to unravel itself. And that's exactly what we're witnessing. We're just, letting this elder express himself.
Through hard times, through struggles, and through encountering so many different things in that. And it was given to us by the old people, that they went before the holy people. They begged the holy people, let us have this. Please allow this to be a part of our way of life. And it was that through the various trials and tribulations and the testing and that our people went through to become the Neni, which is we the people. And other people may have experienced other things, but yet they are very hostile to one another.
All right, we got what we got. Now, keep in mind, he said these holy people. So I want to get this again, right? These holy people. And we're going to continue on from there.
We are not indigenous, even though that we live among all these people on this continent. We are the Neni. We identify as a people that were placed here as a peaceful people. We were given our special language. And these are things that came about through hard times, through struggles, and through encountering so many different things in that. And it was given to us by the old people, that they went before the holy people. They begged the holy people.
They begged the holy people. They went before the holy people, these old ones, these ancient ones. So let's get a little bit of more insight to what he means specifically. And we're going to continue to surf the wave on this indigenous. I hope you are doing well. Go ahead and get your snacks. We just getting started. Shabbat and Eon.
We always have the Hogan. The Hogan is so very important as part of the traditional ceremony. And if you look at the entryway, they always take the door away, or they remove the door out of the way, so they never have the wood door or any kind of material as a door, except a blanket or some kind of a covering for the entryway. And that's very important. Among the teachings of our people, one of the very first things that we learn at a very early age is that of the holy people, the Yendana. The Yendana is sacred holy beings, is what the word the Yendana.
All right, the sacred holy beings. You know what I'm saying? Tap in. Really tap in right about now. Let's go.
Nah. The Yendana is sacred holy beings, is what the word the Yendana means. And so the teachings of our people, the ones that are the actual meat of all of the teachings about holy people, only take place at ceremonies and special occasions where certain ceremonies are conducted for individuals or for families or for the well-being of our environment. And so the holy people are some people that we were introduced to. Some are individual sacred beings, like the Supreme Being, the one that we call Yuhana'e Nitra, which is to say the Supreme Being that is our Father.
You see, as we were surfing the wave earlier when we were talking about our Creator, HWH, we were breaking down not just the shaper, the Amma, but the author as well, when we're talking about the Father being, the one that authorized, that creates, that produces, that brings into life. We're still talking HWH. So, you know, it's very interesting that we're talking about this because we're now diving in to this, you know, most precious, elected, so to speak, of passing down of this information. You're, in a sense, chosen to know this. Let's go.
Reduced to. Some are individual sacred beings, like the Supreme Being, the one that we call Yuhanae Nihitra, which is to say the Supreme Being that is our Father, Nihitra. And when they say Yuhanae, they're not referring to the Son. They say Jigohonaf Ho. That is the word. Now, this is some word that I'm allowing to have people having to understand because it is what is taught in the sweat lodge. It is what is taught in the sacred ceremonial setting. Only one word, Jiona, which is to say, and that is the Supreme Being, the Father of us all. And that's the one that most prayers are directed to, directly to Jiona Nihitra. And so that is the most sacred of all of the holy beings. But they have sub-holy people, sub-helpers in that occasionally they come in various forms, or in most cases they come as sacred beings themselves, as another person or another individual entirely. But they come to deliver messages or to give special instructions for certain things.
They come to deliver messages. Now, we were just getting in our last presentation, what were we talking about? These cosmic messages. So he's talking about these sub-holy ones. Okay? These sub-holy ones. Let's go.
Is the most sacred of all of the holy beings. But they have sub-holy people, sub-helpers in that occasionally they come in various forms, or in most cases they come as sacred beings themselves, as another person or another individual entirely. But they come to deliver messages or to give special instructions for certain things that we may be encountering. And these are sacred holy beings, and they are the ones.
He also said they come in the form of people. Tap in, mental side note, let's go.
That we recognize as holy people. And they come at various times. Sometimes we may give them labels, and throughout the history of the Neh, and some of those are even like Spider Woman. She was an actual person that had special gifts and taught the Neh women how.
Very interesting. He said Spider Woman, like Spider-Man, right? Man. You know what I'm saying? We can't make this up at all. You see how the flow go? But it's very interesting that he mentioned spider as well. Spider. We was just talking about spider in our last presentation.
Throughout the history of the Neh, and some of those are even like Spider Woman. She was an actual person that had special gifts and taught the Neh women how to make and weave clothing and rugs and blankets and so on. But there are other holy beings in that. Some that taught us how to recognize the weather at different times of the season. And so these were sacred beings that were here to instruct the Neh as how to live life and how to make things. We're here to instruct the Neh as how to live life and how to recognize the weather at different times of the season. And so these were sacred beings that we're here to instruct the Neh as how to live life and how to make things uncomplicated. And the holy people are people that help the Supreme Being in that to give us information here in this life. And throughout the world there are many different denominations and various beliefs and faiths and so on. And so if you were to identify holy people based on that understanding, you might consider Adam and Eve, the first man and the first woman, would be holy.
What he say? Adam and Eve. Now that's funny that he would say that, dodging all hijacks. And what I mean by hijacks, I mean your religious programming. But it's interesting that he said those very terms. We still talking Hawaii. We're still talking land. Peep the scene.
There are many different denominations and various beliefs and faiths and so on. And so if you were to identify holy people based on that understanding, you might consider Adam and Eve, the first man and the first woman, would be holy people. And then the man that led when a flood occurred, Noah. And then you have a number of different...
You heard what he said? He jumped straight to Noah. Surf the wave on what he's saying. Put it all into your mind. We about to really break the scene. All right? Let's go.
So if you were to identify holy people based on that understanding, you might consider Adam and Eve, the first man and the first woman, would be holy people. And then the man that led when a flood occurred, Noah. And then you have a number of different teachings in that offered by Christianity, or even by people like Gandhi and Muhammad and all these different people at various times in the history of the world. And Buddha, these people came and they provided very specific type of information to the...
Even Buddha. So when we were surfing the wave in the very beginning when we started, and you remember the images that we were putting up, from Noah to Buddha, tap in. I mean, are you really surfing the wave?
Holy people. Based on that understanding, you might consider Adam and Eve, the first man and the first woman, would be holy people. And then the man that led when a flood occurred, Noah. And then you have a number of different teachings in that offered by Christianity, or even by people like Gandhi and Muhammad and all these different people at various times in the history of the world. And Buddha, these people came and they provided very specific type of information to the various people of their time period. And these people could be considered holy people because
of their time period. Dodging the hijack on Gandhi and such, I get what he's saying, but of the time period, to the people of the time period. And like he was saying in the last one, there wasn't always a time where this physical separation was always a thing. And there was a reason why he said that, but we're allowing him to express himself as such.
These people came and they provided very specific type of information to the various people of their time period. And these people could be considered holy people because they gave messages and information and that was considered very special, and the people needed that type of information so that they could have a greater relationship with their deity.
You see what's going on? So they can have a better relationship with their deity. They needed this. These people were messengers. They brought special teachings, understandings to make things less complicated. We got in our last presentation that things were pretty perplexed without the understanding and the alignment of the signs. Tap in. The
teachings in that offered by Christianity, or even by people like Gandhi and Muhammad and all these different people at various times in the history of the world. And Buddha, these people came and they provided very specific type of information to the various people of their time period. And these people could be considered holy people because they gave messages and information and that was considered very special, and the people needed that type of information so that they could have a greater relationship with their deity.
So that they can have a better relationship with their deity, with the creator, with the source, with the author, with the shaper, with the framer. We're talking your Amma, your Abba, Mak Shalawam. We shall continue. Now it's interesting that he said Adam and Eve. Eve already having her origin in Hawa. Adam having his origin in Adama. And this is what I mean when it comes to our flow, our frequency, our language, our vernacular. It means something a bit different to us within this flow because it is ours. So when we hear him say that this Adam and Eve were of the holy people, well, you already know I direct you to Adama because we're still talking that which is indigenous as we see, right? The land or lands, the earth, the ground, the country, husbandmen, husbandry. We're still talking the ground, the land, ground as general till, yielding sustenance, piece of the ground, a specific plot of land, earth, substance for building, constructing, earth as visible surface, right? The surface of those who dwell on the surface, the whole inhabited earth. Adama, being from soil, from its general redness. See what's going on? The country, the earth, the ground. We're still talking indigenous. Having origin, sprung from the land. Sprung from the land. So is that really what he was getting at? Was that really what we were hearing? Especially when he was saying that they were placed there, planted there. Now, as a plant, I can see how one might not necessarily want to be indigenous. But when we're talking about originating, when we're talking about origins, being natural, well, this indigenous is synonymous with this Adama. Furthermore, a lot of people like to associate this redness with being pale. But as we can see, we're talking about the skin, right? The skin having this redness of the earth, of the ground. And when you go furthermore, well, we're talking about of the earth being red or tawny-ish. So if this same tawny-ish or red is applied to the skin, we know exactly what time it is and what it really is to be indigenous. And that's just a natural fact. We're talking about the field, the land. One who loves the ground, as in agriculture. Used of the produce of the ground, the produce of the ground. Land, region, country, as in the land of HWH, i.e. Canaan. Now keep this in mind because we're going to start the wave on that. But, you know, not only are we talking about this Adama, now that we got this complexion in proper perspective, that is 720 quartz vision for the rare ones, Max Shalom. We are also talking about, well, you got it, he said Noah jumped straight from Adamah to Noah. And when we're surfing the wave on Noah, well, we know during Noah's time, it was the worst of the worst. It was the time of the deluge. Those of the time and before it are referred to antediluvians. We mentioned this. When we're talking about some thinking that the sons of God were fallen angels, and there's waves on that. But when we're talking about these archon, these watchers, well, this fits deliberately into the wickedness and why Hawa will begin to feel this regret. For as we get in verse 1 from chapter 6 of Genesis, and it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them. And the sons of God saw that the daughters of man, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And Hawa said, my spirit shall not always strive with man. So already was this regret. Already was this regret. For that he also is flesh, yet his day shall be 120 years. And so, you know, we get terms like giants, and we've broken this down. But I want to bring your attention to Noah, right? Because it was said when we pick up in 7, Hawa was grieved at the heart that he even made man. So Hawa said, I will destroy man whom I created. See, I created to be created within nature. That's what we were building on. You see what's happening? The same connection. We're still speaking the same frequency. Whom I've created from the face of the earth, indigenous. Both man and beast, and the creepy thing and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I had made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of Hawa. Noah had found grace in the eyes of Hawa, which was favor, beauty, pleasantry, preciousness, or graciousness. Hawa's favorite, one of Hawa's favorite, to be one of Hawa's favorite, chosen, as we see Khan, right? Khan, to be Khan, a Khan, is to have grace of Hawa, from Hawa, to be chosen. To be a Khan is to be chosen in the eyes of Hawa. So when we're talking about Noah, and when we're seeing how Hawa favored Noah and found grace in Noah through all this regret that he made of man, because we're still talking about Cain and the daughters of Cain, and it was through this lineage of Cain that man began to grow the ego of man. This is where to be stuck as a human began. To be stuck in the carnation of man, to repeat the cycle of man, began with these descendants of Cain. Cain already had his distinct way to be from Hawa. Yet when these watchers, as we'll get, fell from their coordinated stations, they didn't anion, they did the opposite. And when they decided to interfere, well, it brought much mayhem, destruction, maliciousness to the earth, abominations. In verse 9, chapter 6 of Genesis, we get, these are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations. And Noah walked with Hawa. So the elder said that Noah was one of these holy people. And we see that to be perfect, entire, literally, figuratively or morally, as integrity, truth, without blemish, complete, full, perfect, sincerely, with sincerity. There goes that word, right? I told you to tap into sound, without spot, undefiled, upright, rightly, whole. So again, we got before in the drip, to be whole is to be sound. And as we got with these swans, they were to make sound, to make melody. And we see that this is also referring to wife. But when we get back to this Adama, well, we see it's not within the same vibration. Because we're talking that skin tone, we're talking that tawny. And to be of the Creator, to be created, to be shaped. Where is our Creator? Right, when we're talking shape. When we're talking Creator, one who creates. When we're talking about manifest, things done with the hands, to build, to be the founder. When we're talking about the author, the doer, something that is built, the father, one who brings about, one who makes or creates someone or something, an originator. See what's going on? A creator, a founder, trustworthy, a builder, a progenitor, to increase, to grow. So when we're speaking on these frequencies, to be created by the hands of the Creator of Source, directly, to be indigenous, sprung from the land of the Creator's hands. Well, that's a connection we surf the wave in. And if you're really surfing the wave, you know that hands are really just Gemini. So when we're talking about being sound, we know that Noah was also what we refer to as an albino. We did this drip years ago. Some might say the first. You know, and that's what happens when we don't give credit to where so-called credit is due. It's a lack of respect. Some might say, oh, it doesn't matter who presented it first. This isn't a race. It's just about the info. Until that very same thing happens to them. And now they want their credit, their recognition. You know, and that's how it is when you're a magnet. You put that energy out there, you can't cry and complain when it comes directly back to you. But we did this years ago. YouTube had to take it off. We uploaded it for the Patreon. We're talking about Noah, the Floridian, the ancient Floridian, man, with locks. Alright? He was albino, still found perfect in his ways. So we're talking about these holy ones, the ones that found favor within the eyes of HWH. Alright, so HWH chose Noah to continue his image as his favor. He was instructed to build this ark because HWH with the waters would destroy all flesh, wherein is the breath of life from under heaven. The Shamayim and everything that is in the earth shall die. But with Noah, HWH established his covenant, this connection. The elder was talking about these ancient ones brought lessons that were necessary for the man and the people of their time. So when we're talking about Noah having this favor, well, we can see that Noah was chosen. because he was sound, and that he was a magnet in such things like integrity and truth, without a blemish, complete, whole. So again, we're talking about a specific people. We're still talking indigenous. We're gonna carry on. Max Shalom. Now, before we actually got up out of here, I wanted to bring to your attention just, the way that Hijack expresses themselves. And I want you to see this disgusting description and analogy that they used, right? It says the human sin had reached an awful climax. Sooner or later, its results must have swept the human race from the earth, as smallpox will slay every native on some infected land. Now that's a wild ass thing to say, right? That's a wild ass thing to say. And it goes to show, man, like just the intense, right? Hatred. Not to excuse anything, but this is what I mean. When we allow the hijack to be, we get drifts like this. Because it says, as smallpox will slay every native, they are correlating the natural ones to the very scripts they are obsessed with. This is how we know this is not theirs. This is not their writing. They may try to hold sway over it, but it is not theirs. It says Hawa only hastened by the flood the inevitable result of wrongdoing. Amid the cosmic corruption and violence, one man stood out as precious in the sight of Hawa. His name meant rest, as in restoration, right? He was righteous toward man and blameless toward Hawa. He walked in fellowship with Hawa. His ear was quick to detect and his hand was deft to fulfill divine will. Alright, so when we're talking about Noah, when we're talking about him having favor, he was blameless. I want you to take a mental note of this blameless, because this is how Hawa saw Noah. We're going to touch on this. But moving forward, carrying on, where we're talking about that freedom in our last presentation. And this is the book of Jubilees, chapter 1. For it said that Moses received the tablets of the law and instruction on past and future history, which he is to inscribe in a book. Now, surfing the wave on everything that we've been talking about, we are still within this indigenous flow. It says this is history of the division of the days of the law and of the testimony of the events of the years in their year weeks of their jubilees throughout all the years of the world, as Hawa spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai, where he went up to receive the tables of the law and of the commandment according to the voice of Hawa, as he said unto him, go up to the top of the mount. We're gonna surf the wave. Chapter 1. And we just gonna get more insight, alright? And it came to pass in the first year of the exodus of the children of Israel out of Egypt in the 3rd month, on the 16th of the day of the month of 2450 Anno Mundi, that Hawa spoke to Moses, saying, come up to me on the mount, and I will give thee 2 tables of stone of the law and of the commandment which I have written that may teach them, that thou may teach them. And this is what the elder said, right? And Moses went up onto the mount of Hawa, and the glory of Hawa abode on Mount Sinai, and the cloud overshadowed it 6 days. And he called to Moses on the 7th out of the midst of the cloud, and the appearance of the glory of Hawa was like a flaming fire on top of the mount. And Moses was on the mount 40 days and 40 nights. And Hawa taught him earlier and the later history of the division of all the days of the law of the testimony. And he said, incline thine heart to every word which I shall speak unto thee on this mount, and write them in a book, in order that their generations may see how I have not forsaken them for all the evil which they have wrought in transgressing the covenant which I established between me and thee for their generations on this day on Mount Sinai. Let's just get this down. There we go. And thus it will come to pass, when all these things come upon them, they will recognize that I am more righteous than they in all their judgments and in all their actions, and they will recognize that I have been truly with them. And thou do write for thyself all these words which I declare unto thee this day, for I know their rebellion and their stiff neck, before I bring them into the land of which I swear to their fathers, to Abraham and to Isaac and to Jacob. See what's going on? Unto your seed I will give a land flowing with milk and honey, and they will eat and be satisfied, and they will turn to strange gods, to gods which cannot deliver them from aught of their tribulation. And this witness shall be heard for a witness against them, for they will forget all my commandments, even all that I command them, and they will walk after the Gentiles and after their uncleanness and after their shame, and will serve their gods, and will prove unto them an offense and a tribulation and an affliction and a snare. And that's what the elder was saying, right? Through the affliction, through the trials and tribulations, they needed to be taught. And many will perish, and they will be taken captive, and will fall into the hands of the enemy, because they have forsaken my ordinances and my commandments and the festivals of my covenant and my Sabbath and my holy place, which I have hallowed for myself in their midst, my tabernacle and my sanctuary. For I have hallowed myself in the midst of the land. You see what's going on? That I shall set my name upon it. You see what's going on? And it shall dwell there in the land. So to be indigenous, to have this recognition, to know Hawa. His name is set upon the land. Hawa. Hawa, and it shall dwell there. And they will make to themselves high places and groves and graven images, and they will worship each his own graven image, so as to go astray, and they will sacrifice their children to demons and to all the works of the heirs of their hearts. And I will send witness unto them, that I may witness against them, but they will not hear, and will slay the witness also, and they will persecute those who seek the law, and they will abrogate and change everything so as to work evil before my eyes. And I will hide my face from them, and I will deliver them into the hand of the Gentiles for captivity, and for a prey, and for a devouring, and I will remove them from the midst of the land, and I will gather them amongst the Gentiles, and they will forget all my law and all my commandments and all my judgments, and will go astray as to new moons and Sabbaths and festivals and jubilees and ordinances. And after this they will turn to me amongst the Gentile with all their heart and with all their soul and with all their strength, and I will gather them from amongst all Gentiles, and they will seek me, so that I shall be found of them when they seek me with all their heart and with all their soul. And I will disclose to them abounding peace with righteousness, and I will remove them the plant of uprightness with all my heart and with all my soul, and they shall be for a blessing and not a curse. To them abounding peace and righteousness I will remove, not a curse, and they shall be the head and not the tail. So they should be the head and not the tail, and we were getting at your code. Right, this musical composition was the tail, the ending. You keeping this code, this law, was the ending to these systematic compilations of false laws. Not the laws of HWH, that which is unnatural for the natural ones. Verse 16, and I will build my sanctuary in their midst, and I will dwell with them, and I will be their God, or their HWH, and they shall be my people in truth and righteousness. And I will build my sanctuary in their midst, and I will dwell with them, and I will be their HWH, and they shall be my people in truth and righteousness. And I will build my sanctuary, and I will not forsake them, nor fail them, for I am HWH. And Moses fell on his face and prayed and said, "Oh, my HWH, do not forsake thy people and thy inheritance." Alright, so can you imagine, like, Moses was just sitting back like, damn, he already knew what was coming to the natural ones. He already knew what was coming to the cons and was like, I couldn't imagine such a thing. He fell and hit his face, so that they should wander in error in their hearts, and do not deliver them into the hands of their enemies, the Gentiles, lest they shall rule over them and cause them to sin against thee. Let thy mercy, O HWH, be lifted upon thy people, and create in them, see what's going on, an upright spirit, and not let the spirit of Belair rule over them, to accuse them before thee and ensnare them from all the paths of righteousness, so that they may perish before thy face. But they are thy people, his inheritance. See what's going on? So we belong to HWH, just like this elder was saying to the so-called holy people. So Moses is saying, don't do this, for they are your people, your inheritance, which thou hast delivered with thy great power from the lands, or from the hands of the Egyptians. Create them in a clean heart and in a whole spirit, and let them not be ensnared in their sins from henceforth until eternity. And HWH said unto Moses, I know their contrariness and their thoughts and their stiff-neckedness, and they will not be obedient till they confess their own sin and the sin of their fathers. And after this they will turn to me in all uprightness with all their heart and with all their soul, and I will circumcise the foreskin of their heart and the foreskin of the heart of their seed, and I will create them in a whole spirit, a pure spirit, and I will cleanse them, so that they shall not turn away from me from that day unto eternity. And their souls will cleave, you see what's going on, to me and to all my commandments, and they will fulfill my commandments, and I will be their father, and they shall be my children. And they shall be called children of the living Hawa, and every angel and every spirit shall know, yeah, they shall know that these are my children, and that I am their father in uprightness and righteousness, and that I love them. Ahah. And thou write down for thyself all these words which I declare unto thee on this mountain, this tree, this great tree, the first and last which shall come to pass in all the divisions of the days, in the law and in the testimony and in the weeks and the jubilees unto eternity, until I descend and dwell with them throughout eternity. And he said to the angel of the presence, write for Moses from the beginning of creation till my sanctuary has been built among them for all eternity. And Hawa will appear to the eyes of all, and all shall know that I am the Hawa of Israel, and the father of all the children of Jacob, and king on Mount Zion for all eternity, and Zion, Jerusalem, shall be whole. And the angel of the presence, who went before the camp of Israel, took the tables of the divisions of the years from the time of the creation, of the law, of the testimony, of the weeks, of the jubilees, according to the individual years, according to all the number of the jubilees, according to the individual years, from the day of the new creation, when the heavens and the earth shall be renewed, and all their creation, according to the powers of the Shamayim, and according to all the creation of the earth, until the sanctuary of Hawa shall be made in Harushalayim on Mount Zion, and all the luminaries be renewed for healing and peace, and for blessings, baruchs, for all the elect of Israel, the chosen, and that thus it may be from that day and unto all that day, unto all the days of the earth. So when we're talking about these so-called holy ones, these so-called chosen ones, we just got who that is, who they are. And my good bros talking about fifth dimensional Israelites. And that's word to the Khan. When he said that, I was kind of like, yeah, on a cosmic voyage. Fifth dimensional Israelites through all dimension and portals. We are chosen in the image of Hawa. So continuing on, I would like to bring you to chapter 10 for good reason. And in the third week of this jubilee, unclean demons began to lead astray the children of the sons of Noah, and to make error and destroy them. And the sons of Noah came to Noah their father, and they told him concerning the demons which were leading astray and blinding and slaying his sons. And he prayed before Hawa and said, Hawa of spirits of all flesh, who has shown mercy unto me, and have saved me and my sons from the waters of the flood, and has not cast me to perish, and thou hast did this as thou hast did the sons of perdition. Always got to keep this term in mind, especially when we're talking about the Hellenists. The Hellenists. For thy grace has been great towards me, and great has been thy mercy to my soul. Let thy grace be lift upon my sons, and let not wicked spirits rule over them, lest they should destroy them from the earth. But thou bless me and my sons, that we may increase, you see that term again, and multiply and replenish the earth. And thou knowest how thy watchers, you see what's going on, these archons, the watchers, the father of these spirits. The watchers are the father of these spirits, these demons, as they acted in my day. And as for these spirits which are living, imprisoning them and hold them fast in the place of condemnation. And let them not bring destruction on the sons of thy servant Mahoah, for these are malignant and created in order to destroy. So right here we have the intent by these watchers that they went ahead and began their own unnatural creation. And it's within our scripts that we get this natural versus so-called unnatural. And let them not rule over the spirits of the living, for thou alone canst exercise dominion over them. And let them not have power over the sons of the righteous from henceforth and forevermore. And Hawa bade us to bind all. And the chief of the spirits, Mastema, came and said, Hawa, Creator, let some of them remain before me, and let them hearken to my voice, and do all that I shall say unto them. For if some of them are not left to me, I shall not be able to execute the power of my will on the sons of men, for these are for corruption and leading astray before my judgment. For great is the wickedness of the sons of man. And he said, let the 10th part of them remain before him, the 10th part, and let 9 parts descend into the place of condemnation. You see what's going on? Let 9 parts descend into the place of condemnation. And one of us he commanded that we shall teach Noah all their medicines, for he knew that they would walk not in uprightness nor strive in righteousness. And we did according to all his words, all the malignant evil ones we bound in the place of condemnation, and 1/10 of them we left that they might be subject before Satan on the earth. Adversary, right? And as we dig on this adversary, well, we know they have this correlation in relation to the watchers. And we explained to Noah all the medicines of their diseases together with their seductions, how we might heal them with herbs of the earth. And Noah wrote down all things in the book as we instructed him concerning every kind of medicine. Thus evil spirits were precluded from hurting the sons of Noah. You see what's going on? And he gave all that he had written to Shem. And this is what I'm saying. When we're digging on that Shem drip, when we're talking about the fame, it was natural for all that we held as the sons and daughters of Shem. This was a natural thing for us, for we kept the code. We kept the code, the law, the book, the tree, which in this code would serve as the tale, the ending, the musical composition to all hijack, to all static. Shem, his eldest son, for he loved him exceedingly above all his sons. Noah slept with his fathers and was buried on the Mount Labar in the land of Ararat. So they say. 950 years he completed his life, 19 jubilees in 2 weeks and 5 years. And in his life on the earth he excelled the children of men, save Enoch, because of the righteousness wherein he was perfect. For Enoch's office was ordained for a testimony to the generations of the world, that he should recount all the deeds of generation unto generation till the day of judgment. And in the 13th Jubilee in the first year of the second, Peleg took to himself a wife whose name was Lamna, the daughter of Sinar. She bare him a son in the 4th year of this week, and he called his name Ru. For he said, Behold, the children of man have become evil through the wicked purpose of building for themselves a city and a tower in the land of Shinar. For they departed from the land of Ararat, departed from the land of Ararat eastward to Shinar. For in his days they built the city and the tower, saying, Go, let us ascend thereby unto the Shamayim. And they began to build. In the 4th week they made brick with fire, and the brick served them for stone, and the clay which they cemented together was asphalt which comes out of the sea and out of the fountains of water in the land of Shinar. Now through Ham and the curse of Ham, which is really the curse of Canaan, Ham still holding on to these ways of Cain, was able to manifest this continuance of evil, so to speak, right? This malice practice that HWH had regretted. And they built it 43 years, where they building it, its breadth was 203 bricks, and the height of the brick was the third of one. Its height amounted to 5,433 cubits and 2 palms, and the extent of one wall was 13 stades, and the other 30 stades. And HWH said unto us, Behold, they are one people. And this they began to do, and nothing will be withholding from them. Go, let us go down and confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech, and they may be dispersed into cities and nations. You see what's going on? So this is the beginning of cities and nations. And one purpose will no longer abide with them till the day of judgment. So there is no all-around peace. If this is not according to your flow, your nation, your tribal identity being activated to the flow of HWH, there is no so-called peace, no so-called shalom across the lands. Not until HWH's presence is expressed through the lands, and we are witnessing. And HWH descended, and we descended with him to see the city and the tower which the children of men had built. And he confounded their language, and they no longer understood one another's speech, and they ceased then to build the city and tower. And he confounded, for this reason the whole land of Shinar is called Babel. The whole land of Shinar. So it went from Shinar to Babel. Alright, because it was in this alignment of Shinar where they began to make this agreement with all their intention to reach the heights of the Shamayim. And one can say this was a literal city. One can say that one's tech was so incredible, so intense, that they had the capability to breach the firmament. HWH, according to this text, saw that such an alignment was possible. And only the cracking of the firmament was allowed for his calling. Because HWH did dare confound all the language of the children of men, and from thence they were dispersed into their cities each according to his language and nation. And HWH sent a mighty wind against the tower and overthrew it upon the earth. And behold, it was between Ashur and Babylon in the land of Shinar. And they called its name Overthrow. The overthrow. And this is why we tap into the overflow. For those surfing the wave, you gotta really be surfing the wave. Come. In the 4th week, in the 1st year, in the beginning thereof, in the 4 and 13th Jubilee, were they dispersed from the land of Shinar. And Ham and his sons went into the land which he was to occupy. Ham and his sons went into the land which he was to occupy, which he acquired as his portion in the land of the south. And Canaan saw that the land of Lebanon to the river of Egypt, that it was very good. And he went into the land, and he went not into the land of his inheritance to the west, that is to the sea. And he dwelt in the land of Lebanon, eastward and westward from the border of Jordan, and from the border of the sea. So see, Canaan, along with Nimrod, both going into lands that wasn't theirs, not going into the lot that they were appointed. This is how Canaan's curse was reinforced. It was doubled down. This was the beginning of Canaan's curse. Now this is very interesting, because we get that or is it not? Alright, so we get in verse 18 of Genesis chapter 9. And the sons of Noah that went forth from the ark were Shem and Ham and Japheth, right? Or Japheth. And Ham is the father of Canaan. Now they specifically break down that Ham is the father of Canaan. These are the 3 sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread. And Noah began to be a husbandman, and he planted a vineyard. And he drank of the wine and was drunken and was uncovered within his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his 2 brethren without. So they didn't see the nakedness of their father, but this Ham did. And they're alluding that Canaan being the Ham, Ham being the father of Canaan, Canaan being his son. They're alluding to the fact that Ham is the father because of this action of Ham seeing his father's nakedness. Canaan was produced. Canaan was the production of this act. This is why Canaan was such an abomination. And everything about Canaan was like a downward spiral. It was the opposite of Anion for Canaan. And Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both of their shoulders and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father, and their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness. So they didn't participate. They had nothing to do with it. They did not go that route. Shem being the oldest, taking the lead, he was also given the favor, the same favor that Hawa bestowed upon Noah. Shem also received this same favor within his father, right? And Noah awoke from his wine. And Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done unto him. And he said, "Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants. Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants, shall he be unto his brethren." And he said, "Blessed be Hawa of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant." You see what's going on? And Canaan shall be his servant. This always happens. Alright. Man, that keeps happening. My bad. Shout out to her. Alright, so Canaan was to be a servant of servants. And he shall be specifically the servant of Shem. It says, Hawa shall enlarge Japhet, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem. Japheth, right? And Canaan shall be his servant. So Canaan shall be also the servant of Japheth as well. So we get also right here Canaan does not go into the land of his inheritance, which is, according to them, the west. Instead, he goes somewhere else. And this is how that land becomes the land, as we'll see, right? Ham and his father and Cush and Mizraim, his brothers, said unto him, Thou hast resettled in the land which is not thine, and which did not fall to us by lot. Do not do so, for if thou dost do so, thou and thy sons will fall in the land. They will fall in the land, and they will be cursed through sedition. So there's that word again, right? That term, sedition. For by sedition ye have settled, and by sedition will thy children fall. You see what's going on? And thou shalt be rooted out forever. Rooted out forever. Dwell not in the dwelling of Shem, for Shem and his sons did it come by their lot. So he was not supposed to settle in the land of Shem, but to be a servant. You see what's going on? To be a servant. So cursed art thou, and cursed shalt thou be beyond all the sons of Noah. You see what's going on? All the sons of Noah, by the curse which we bound ourselves by an oath in the presence of the whole judge and in the presence of Noah our father. So this was a covenant, something much more sacred than just some treaty. These were laws of the land. Indigenous laws were broken. Indigenous codes were broken. The signals were broken, interrupted, jammed, hijacked. Right? offshooted. This was an off shot. It says, but he did not hearken unto them and dwelt in the land of Lebanon from Hamath to the entering of Egypt, he and his sons until this day. And for this reason that land is named Canaan. So we got to understand these things when it comes to the attributing and the attribution of so-called Israel having Canaanite or Canaanitish ancestry. This is simply not the case. And the land is only referred to as the land of Canaan because Canaan did not stay in his dwelling, which is what enriched his cursing. And that's what we're surfing the wave on, okay? So when we're talking about our source, and we're keeping the code of our source, the source being the support, the base, something like this trunk. The stem is the base, like the human body, the trunk of the human body, the base of the human body, the being, the source, the support, the base, our source being our support, our centerpiece, a rising, an anion, a beginning, a fountainhead of a stream or river, to rise, to spring up. You see what's going on? To spring up. So when we're talking about indigenous and to sprung from the land, to spring from the land, to come from source, that which is nature, which is the restorative powers of the body, quality of the cosmos, the natural character, the course of things, the powwows of the source, to arise, to mount up, to ascend, even to attack, to keep straight, guide, move in a straight line, to direct in a straight line, thus to lead, to rule. Source. The first cause and origin. You see what's going on? The first cause and origin. We're talking indigenous, originating from the land. Tribal. Tribal of the land. Source. Cause of origin. To rise. Alright. And when we're talking about this being, this ray of light, this directed flow of radiation, these rays of light emitting that which shines radiantly to shine. It was only right that I bring you to Ethiopia, because we're talking about a fiery looking, that which is to burn or shine, to shine. Because when we're talking about ether, you know I have to do it to burn, to shine. To burn, to shine. We're talking about your connection to the Shamayim, to the firmament, the upper, the anion. So when we're talking about this burn, we're talking about the Negro, the fiery looking, the one with the ether face, to shine. And again, it's always important that we break this down, that we get it for what it is, right? Who the Homeric Ethiopians, Ethiopians is a matter of doubt. The poet elsewhere speaks of two divisions of them, one dwelling near the rising, one dwelling near the rising, the other near the setting of the sun, the other near the setting of the sun. These Ethiopians, these ones with the ether face, the fiery looking ether faces, both having embrowned visages from their proximity to that luminary, from their proximity to that luminary, which is the sun, and both leading a blissful existence, a blissful existence, because living amid a flood of light, and as a natural, you get what's going on, as a natural concomitant of a blissful existence, blameless and pure and free from every kind of moral defilement, blameless and pure. You see what's going on? Just like how we got with Noah being perfect. Get that bag. Noah being perfect. Noah being perfect. See what's going on? Noah being perfect, sound, whole, just like that swan we was talking about. To make sounds, melodies to the Shamayim, as we keep this code, this law, these books of the tree. It's a real way. These ether faces led a life that was blissful in its existence, blameless, just like Noah, blameless, kind of blameless. Let's see. Right here, blameless. He was righteous. Right here. He was righteous toward man and blameless toward Hawa. He walked in fellowship with Hawa. His ear was quick to detect and his hand deft to fulfill the divine will. So when we're talking about these Ethiopians, these Ethiopians, and the divisions of the two, one dwelling near the rising, the other near the setting of the sun, both having in-brown visages. When we're talking that Adama, it was of the skin, the skin, in-brown visages. It was of the skin, the tawny reddish skin of the ground, of the land, of the soil. We're talking indigenous. That which is to be natural, which is of nature. One's natural character in the course of things, halakha, the way. So we got one more thing to check out before we slide up on out of here. Hope you are magnetized and doing well, Shabbatah. This is a healing session for you during this cosmic shit. Max Shalom to the rare ones, that is the Shabbatah. So I hope you continue to do well out there in this journey of ours, surfing the wave. And just don't forget to come over and tap in and get cozy. You know what I'm saying? We surfing waves. We just getting started again. Shabbat per your request. You already know how we do when we surf with one another. It's always a magnetizing vibe. So I just hope that you are magnetized. And we're going to go ahead and get into a little bit of this. Shalom.
A real talk and just some food for thought. I always find it annoying that Caucasians and even black people claim that we Habeshas have Caucasian features, that we look like Europeans. But if human life, as we know, originates in Ethiopia, in the Rift Valley, shouldn't it be the other way around? Shouldn't we say they look like us?
I mean, as we just got, from the term itself, right? When we're talking about the Ethiopian, there's a one in the setting and the one in the rising of the sun. So, I mean, which rift are we really talking about? Which valley are we really talking about? When we're talking about this human origin. Again, we're just speaking indigenous. We're going to go ahead and get that back one time. We just asking questions. That's how we started, asking questions. It's only right that we finish asking questions.
Just some thoughts.
Our bookstore is like a portal.
Whoa, let's get that back one time. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get that back. We're going to go ahead and ride out. Shalom to the rare ones, the ancient ones. This is your ancient love song, and we are still in our cosmic dance. This is just our 1-2. We got more to do.
Real talk and just some food for thought. I always find it annoying that Caucasians and even black people claim that we Habeshas have Caucasian features, that we look like Europeans. But if human life, as we know, originates in Ethiopia, in the Rift Valley, shouldn't it be the other way around? Shouldn't we say they look like us? Just some thoughts. Fam.
Just some thoughts. And we're going to surf the wave on them thoughts. Hope you charge up, take advantage of your strong, and continue to rest up. You know what I'm saying? You know how we do, working on the next one to get right back to you. Max A Hub and Shalom to everyone sending a good charge Appreciate to everyone reaching out constantly. It's always, you know what I'm saying, a smile on my face when I just see the HWH continue to pour out that wave, man. You guys are incredible. We appreciate you. Till the next time, HWH, Max HWH, HWH.